Met Fan Podcast. I'm your host, Frank Osberger, and on today's show, Swaggy V, Mark Vientos. Is he finally back? He looks back to me the last couple of weeks. We're going to get into him. We're going to talk about Soto. Soto being Soto. You know what? Very underrated year that he's having. Very under the radar season. So a lot of stuff to get with that. And also, like I said last week, we are going to talk about some prospects, some household prospects, but also some guys that maybe you guys don't know. And, I think that the Met farm system is pretty exciting because they got some hidden gems, as they say, down in the farm system. So let's begin. So Mark Vientos, the last couple of weeks has really turned around his season. I know the first 4 months looked like he was lost in the weeds, and all of a sudden now we're seeing the old Mark Vientos, the 2024 Mark Vientos, which I know a lot of Met fans are excited about, myself included, because I was kind of getting tired of defending Mark Vientos on my group chats and online and Facebook chats and all that stuff. But I feel kind of vindicated the last couple of weeks. And let me just get into some of the stats from the last couple of weeks. Actually, the last 10 days, he's had a 10-game hitting streak, which is really impressive. He's been carrying this offense the last 2 weeks. And in those last 10 games, Swaggy V has made an appearance. I know that a lot of people laugh when they hear that, but that's his nickname. So 6 home runs and 17 RBIs and 15 hits during the 10-game hit streak. That is phenomenal. That is what we want to see. That is what we thought we were going to see the first 4 months of the year. And it's amazing that he pretty much hit as much home runs in the last week and a half than he did all year. He now has 13. So that's how impactful he's been the last 10 days. You know what? I think everybody was right at the beginning of the year. He really is the X factor of this lineup. Everybody thought it was going to be Juan Soto, but Mark Vientos definitely much needed coming out party the last 2 weeks. Really great to see that. I'm excited to see it. I know a lot of other Met fans are excited to see it. This is what we needed to come out of that dark hole of August, was someone to step up besides Lindor, besides Alonso, besides Soto. Nemo's been kind of hot and cold. We needed Swaggy V to come back. We needed that something to really help us out here. And, maybe it was the fact that we were playing the Phillies that he awoke. It's pretty crazy how he's been a Philly killer since he's been a Met. I happen to love that. But yeah, so Swaggy V, welcome back. Hope you stay here. We definitely need you to have a great September in order to help us not only get to the playoffs, which we have a 4.5 game lead in the wild card, but now that we're 4 games out of first place in the division with 29 games to go, I believe it is, it's not out of reach like I thought it was maybe a couple of weeks ago. Even though I did predict, even during the horrible stretch in August, I did make a friendly bet with my brother-in-law. Shout out to Billy. I told you so, buddy. I told you that the Mets weren't dead yet. So, very excited about that. Speaking of Mr. Soto, Soto is being Soto. And I know a lot of people are going to say, what the hell are you talking about? But looking at his numbers, and I'm going to read out some of his stats, this is what we expected Juan Soto to do. Okay, he's not doing anything spectacular. I know a lot of Met fans are going to get annoyed with me because they're like, oh, he's Juan Solo. All he's been doing all year is hitting solo home runs. No, he's been doing a lot more than just hitting solo home runs. And speaking of the home runs, he has 32, and he still has a whole month of baseball to go. He could hit 40 home runs again like he did last year with the Yankees. I know he hit 41, but you're telling me he can't get hot in September and go off on a couple of weeks and hit 8 more home runs? So let me read you some of these stats from Juan Soto so far. So he has 96 runs, 117 hits, 32 home runs, 79 RBIs, has 107 walks, which I think is incredible, has an OPS of 879. Batting average is a little underwhelming, I know that, but he got that up to 251. And one of the most amazing stats I thought was he has 22 steals. He could be a 30-30 player this year. That's pretty damn good. And, I know he's done that quietly, but his first year as a Met has been exactly what we thought it would be. He's going to definitely eclipse 100 runs, 100 RBIs. He's on pace to go over 100 RBIs. Interesting stat, though. Not only does he have a possibility of being a 30-30 player this year, but and they kept bringing this up on the broadcast a couple of weeks ago, and they kept bringing it up as it keeps getting closer and closer. He has a possibility to break the single season walk record, which I didn't even know that it was 125. But shout out to John Olabrud, former Met first baseman. A few of my friends' favorite first baseman that the Mets had. 125 walks. Juan Soto is definitely on pace to break that, so that'd be pretty cool if Juan Soto broke that record. I know it's a silly single season record, but it's still something to just bring up on the cast, and I thought that was pretty cool. Listen, Juan Soto is what he is. He's a great hitter at the plate, and he's going to make pitchers frustrated, and he's going to help the other players. That's why he has 96 runs. A lot of those 96 runs are the 105 RBIs that Pete has that I mentioned in the last podcast. He gets on base at an incredible pace, an annoying pace. Even though I know some people want to rag on me that, Juan Soto also strikes out a lot. But you're going to strike out a lot when you take 107 walks, because some of those walks, you're going to get called out on strikes. That's just how it is. But, I think Juan Soto deserves a lot of credit, and this is exactly what we paid for. So still waiting for him to have that 1 month where it's like, holy crap, but I'm hoping that's in September. I'm hoping that's when it counts in October. But he is having a very solid first year as a New York Met, and I'm really glad that he's the New York Met. So just wanted to bring up a little bit of Juan Soto, and now the most important topic of today, what I promised you guys last week, is my prospect watch part 2. So a little bit of a list I went over last night, prepping for this episode. I really enjoy studying the prospects. I didn't think I would, it is tedious to sometimes look up these players, but shout out to Baseball Reference, great website to check out baseball stats. And also the Mets website does a great job. All of the team websites do of the top 30 prospects. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to just touch base on a couple of the household names, and then maybe mention some guys maybe that you don't know. Shout out to my buddy Tahada for this idea for the podcast. It's a really cool idea, talking about prospects. I know he enjoys it. We have great conversations about this stuff, so shout out to him. Love the brother, and here it goes. So first prospect I wanted to talk about is the number 1 prospect in the Mets system. You guys know him. He's Carson Bench, a prospect that has skyrocketed through the system. I'm going to read you off a lot of his stats, and this is from the whole year. So this is from when he first started in Brooklyn to now in Syracuse. But really impressive first year stats. 305 batting average, has a 411 on base percentage, which I think is really impressive, a 500 slug, and that comes to a 912 OPS. Really, really impressive for a young guy. Has 78 runs scored, 112 hits, 24 extra base hits. Actually, more than 24 extra base hits. I'm sorry. 24 doubles, 6 triples, 12 home runs, 60 runs batted in, has 61 walks. Very impressive. He does get on base at a pretty good rate and has 20 steals. So pretty much an overall offensive player. And he's an outfielder. So good news for Met fans. You're going to like this. We may have our center fielder of the future. And another point I want to make about Carson Bench is he's the first pick that our new GM, David Stearns, the boy genius, as some of you guys may refer to him as. This was a pick that, is waving in the new era for David Stearns. So really nice to see that a GM that I defend a lot on this show made a really good pick. And he's already in AAA. So he got drafted last year. So for a 1-year pro to already be in AAA is incredible. So can't wait to see Carson Bench play some center field for the New York Mets, hopefully next season. Another guy that I wanted to talk about was Jet Williams. This is my favorite Met prospect. Very excited about this guy. The Mets drafted him out of high school. He's 21, so he's been in the Met system for a couple of years now, but he was always injury prone. So finally having a full season. He has a 268 batting average, 370 on base, and a 454 slug for an 825 on OPS. That's awesome for a leadoff hitter. He's been leading off a lot. Has 76 runs, 110 hits, 31 doubles, 6 triples, 11 home runs, 39 runs batted in with 66 walks, and a really impressive 33 steals. So this is a guy that gets on base a lot. He moves around the diamond a lot. He's played a lot of shortstop. Got drafted as a shortstop. Plays some second base, and they tried him out in the outfield. He's been playing some center field, but mostly shortstop and second. So he's more of an infielder, up the middle guy. It's nice to see him developing some skills in the outfield, playing some outfield. Reminds me a lot defensively of how they use Jeff McNeil. And I could see Jet Williams being the future second baseman of the Mets or the future center fielder, depending on where they want to go with Carson Bench. I think Jet Williams is probably destined to be the second baseman of the future. But we'll see where the Mets fiddle these guys once they come up. It's a good problem to have, I think. A lot of these guys playing multiple positions, it's just figuring out where you want to put them. So, but as long as he keeps doing this stuff offensively, we should see both him and Carson Bench in the majors probably by next season, being that they're in AAA. So it's very exciting. Now for some guys that you probably don't know, not necessarily household names. One guy that I kept hearing on a Met podcast that I listened to, I didn't really think much of this guy because I was like, oh, he's just another, ragtag kind of, middle of the prospect pool kind of guy, kind of a guy that's going to get lost in the shuffle. But he kind of, impressed me a little bit now. He was in Brooklyn, got called up to Double-A recently. And that's third baseman, first baseman prospect, Jacob Reimer. Number 6 on the Met list of their top 30. So he's been climbing up their list really well and kind of making a name for himself. Has a 283 batting average with 383 on base, 506 slug, has an OPS of 889. So really, really impressive stuff. This guy gets on base and hits the ball really hard. Has 81 runs scored, 113 hits, 28 doubles, 5 triples, 17 home runs, 71 runs batted in, 52 walks, and has sprinkled in 14 steals in Brooklyn and in Binghamton, where he's playing now. Kind of a sneaky steal guy, but I really don't think that's his game. He kind of reminds me of J.D. Davis, but better defensively, if that makes any sense to Met fans who remember J.D. Davis. And that's probably a good thing because, again, these are guys that you want to see progress because you could always trade them, if their stock is up. But Jacob Reimer, definitely a name that I think Met fans should pay attention to if you haven't already. I know he's not really a household name, but that's kind of why I wanted to bring him up. He's been kind of turning heads down there in Double-A, so really nice to see. And then the next two guys I wanted to talk about are two pitchers in Double-A. Now, we already promoted Nolan McLean that I mentioned on my last episode. And tomorrow night, Jonathan is making his debut. So that's pretty awesome. And then, with all these guys coming up from AAA, the Mets have even more depth in Double-A in their pitching. So that's kind of awesome. And that's who I wanted to talk about. So the first guy is Jake Wingerton. Right-handed pitcher. He's a starter, has 11 wins, 6 losses, but has an impressive 2.73 ERA in 23 games started, 118 innings pitched, and 133 strikeouts. Really, really impressive stuff. So look out for Jake Winninger. Really good right-handed pitcher. Under the radar kind of prospect. But he's turning heads. So we'll see. Again, the Met farm system is really coming along with the pitching staff. Really impressive. And the last guy I wanted to talk about, he pitched, I believe, in the that USA prospect game that they had earlier in the year. I didn't really know of him until then, but he definitely turned some heads. And that's Ryan Lambert, another right-handed pitcher from the Double-A team. Has 2 wins, 1 loss, a 1.81 ERA in 41 games. Mostly he's been pitched out of the bullpen. Has 5 saves, 44 innings pitched, 72 strikeouts. Really, really impressive right-handed pitcher. Really tall. Kind of reminds me of like Mike Pelfrey and Noah Syndergaard, like one of those big guys. Doesn't really throw like those guys, though. He's a much better strikeout pitcher than them. Those guys are more ground ball pitchers, if you guys remember those guys. But really impressive stuff from the Mets farm system. Very exciting. I love that some of these guys are making their debuts on the team now. But this is the next crop of hopefully Met prospects that come up in the near future. But we will see. Because right now the Mets are really deep with their pitching prospects. But it's really nice to see a lot of these guys progress the way that they have. And hopefully we'll see them in Queens. Hopefully I get to see some of these guys pitch before they make it to the major leagues. I plan on going to some of these minor league ballparks. So hopefully they don't progress too quickly. But with that said, again, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And like always, I love talking to you guys. Let's go Mets and stay amazing, everybody. I'll see you next time.